2 Australian icons?
Aha.
Yeah, okay, fine, I'll take that. I mean, wait, yeah, that's fine. I will accept the badge of the Australian. We have a lot of them in the league already, maybe too many, but it's fine. Custer?
We're taking over.
Okay, all right, okay. Come on now. Back to the desk with you, maybe. The Commonwealth couple is back. What do you mean, what?
You're trying to banish me? We've only just started this cast, Jack. Come on.
Well, okay, fine. As long as you wear the British badge for a week. In fact, let's swap accents for a week and see how that goes. Thoughts?
I don't think I can do a British accent. I could try. It's kind of close to Australia, but I would butcher it.
Kind of close to Australia, yeah, apart from being halfway around the world. Dallas Fuel and the San Francisco Shock. Grudge match, I think, for the Shock here. Scott, they want to get some revenge. I mean, the last time they played was in the kickoff clash, semi-finals of the losers bracket, and it was a 3-0. Like, quite a clean 3-0. Dallas Fuel just swept them under the rug.
It wasn't close at all. And that's the big problem for the San Francisco Shock, and probably why so many people are going for the Dallas Fuel in this match, because it was just so dominant for them. But this is a completely different game right now. We have a massive meta shift. If you just watch the match we just saw be played, it was absolutely completely different. There was Sojourn, there was Wrecking Ball, there was a little bit of Rush still, and that was a London Spitfire. But if they're not leaning on it heavily, then I wouldn't expect many teams.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually see Sojourn back in the mix, and I think Mitch already picked it up in our first game. Think of your favorite hit scan DPS or any of your favorite DPS players. Sojourn is looking fantastic, and there's going to be many highlight clips, I can imagine, featuring every single player from the league right now. Let's have a look at Dallas. We have Gurio and Sparkle in the starting lineup, Scott, two DPS players I always get very excited about when the Fuel end up playing. And Gurio, we've seen him a little bit on the Widowmaker. He has been streaky, I'd say, in the kickoff clash. Sometimes he had some crazy shots, some nice little streaks on the Widowmaker, but then other times he looked a little bit flat.
And that's it. Like, Gurio, we expect so much from him as a sniper player. He is very good, and we expect him to be at that level, but he just wasn't in the playoffs. And I think that was a big problem for the Dallas Fuel, is that they weren't able to go toe-to-toe with other teams when they were in that head-to-head matchup. So we're going to see more hit scan. We've even seen a lot of Sojourn. Is he going to be the one picking it up for the Dallas Fuel? Is he going to be able to step up to that level of a championship caliber so that they can take down teams like the Gladiators and the San Francisco Shock?
Yeah, starting in too, and we've seen a whole lot of habits. So again, big changes for the Dallas Fuel, but you can expect that really, I think, from a lot of teams, considering how big the patch was. We're not seeing hardly any Soldier. We're seeing London, of course, running that rush, but the idea of maybe Wrecking Ball getting played a little bit too. I mean, let's have a look at the San Francisco Shock starters, because they recently picked up another tank player. Of course, Kalush is doing exceptional right now for a rookie, coming into one of the most historically greatest teams in the Overwatch League in the San Francisco Shock. But now they're picking up another tank. We got Mikey in the roster.
Yeah, someone not a lot of people were probably expecting the San Francisco Shock to pick up. He did come from the Boston Uprising and have pretty average success, as you would imagine, but he was on the Boston Uprising. He has come in, and the coaches have said why, because they want to fill out their tank role. Kalush is a great player. He played a great Winston, but he is an off-tank player. Mikey's going to come in, he's going to pick up that Reinhardt hero, maybe some of that Wrecking Ball, and I think that's what I'm expecting to see. With how much the Florida Mayhem and someone just played the Wrecking Ball, with Mikey in this lineup, I would expect to see him pick that one up, and I want to see great things. We've seen so much from these rookies from the San Francisco Shock this season already. He needs to be another one. I guess not a rookie, but
sort of a rookie, kind of a rookie, but I mean, playing for the San Francisco Shock, that's a lot of weight on his shoulders. Still a crazy amount of fans for the San Francisco Shock that have been following the team, I can imagine, for quite some time. And some big shoes to fill. In Kalush, of course, he's an 8-foot gaming warlord. If anybody didn't see the kickoff clash, that guy is very tall and very wide. Big guy. And Mikey's now stepping in. Wrecking Ball is a specialty of his, and Wrecking Ball got a small change, Scott. His knockback has been increased. So a lot more disruption from swinging through teams. Gives you a little bit more ult charge too if you're hitting multiple people. So it's going to feel pretty good. But on maps like this, like Lijiang, I guess you can spin around the center, yeah, but there aren't a crazy amount of avenues you can take to get on top of people as the Wrecking Ball without getting spotted out.
And that's it. Like, the Wrecking Ball can go around, but at some point you're going to have to come into the Dallas Fuel, who are going to play this rush composition. It looks like this is going to be a clash of styles. We just saw it in this last matchup. The problem that I see with the rush is that you just can't shut anything down from the San Francisco Shock. It can be difficult to close the distance onto Finn and Violet, and we see them rolling out on it now. Sam on that Sojin as well. Dallas Fuel are going to try and get in, close the distance with the Shock, and they're already on the outside.
Oh, wow, Gurio gets picked off straight away. Sam with a nice rail from across the map. The Dallas Fuel won't care about that too much. I mean, they can run into people, but having an off angle you can take as the Sojourn and even the Tracer, of course, you're trying to harass the backline. Dallas Fuel have to travel as a unit. Yeah, they can just run over people, but it's actually getting on top of the opposition is going to be the hardest feat for them in this series. Oh, hello.
They're actually going to roam all the way around the high ground right now.
Oh.
And they're just trying to TP and get onto this backline. Oh, Gurio gets picked off on the Cassidy by Proper, and that's going to slow everything down. That's another
TP,
20%.
Bring around the Rosie. Lamp has been forced. Violet's life ended. The San Francisco Shock have lost a member, but still, Gurio needs to come back to the fray. It's a 5v5, and the San Francisco Shock are just going to hold and defend on the outside. Fearless losing the 1v1 to Finn, although Finn eventually goes down as Sparkle was up there to help out Fearless. Sam taking an off angle. San Francisco Shock finally pushed away. Still building up a nice lot of percentage though. 36, almost 37. Pulse Bomb kills Fearless, but being in control is exactly where the Dallas Fuel want to be, especially with Sparkle on this Symmetra. Instantly healed up. Fielder spamming the heals through and actually using the window to try and force away this Wrecking Ball. He just gets instantly focused down. Goodbye, Mikey.
And you can see the Dallas Fuel, now that they have control, now they have that positioning, everything starts ticking up right now. Fearless is anchored onto the point. With Gurio switching over to that Sombra, it should be easy for them to isolate, and they're just going to keep running at them, like you see right now. But Fearless...
Initially, that was a nice lamp from Fielder, but look at that. That knockback patch coming in big for Mikey. Just bowled him straight out of the lamp, instantly killing him, using the mine to separate the rest of the team. And the San Francisco Shock, with a pick just like that, end up taking the point again.
Yeah, that was a good play by the San Francisco Shock, able to get past that, maybe a little too aggressive from them. Oh, gets a little caught. Sam now has that ultimate, and we've seen so many people have high impact on the Sojin with the rail. How is the Fuel going to do that? They're going to TP to the outside.
There's the wall. Oh, Mikey gets booped off the edge. Yeah, Repel isn't going to save you now. Proper trying to hunt down Gurio. He's found himself with Sparkle, who's going pretty low. Discord Orb applied. He's just trying to make the best of this beat now as the Dallas Fuel end up recapping the point. Sam doing almost no damage with that overclock. Those rails unable to chew through the overhealth. However, the Shock, they end up coming it back. Finn still pumping out a lot of damage from the backline. The EMP is fairly decent, but Mikey instantly turns back into the ball again. The EMP more of an interruption now, Scott, than a full-blown hack. So Mikey's very okay. Survives for a second, pops back in the ball, and just runs over the rest of the Fuel.
Fuel used everything in that team fight as well. You see Gurio switch away from the Sombra and back to the Sombra. You can tell they don't have a clear direction of how they want to deal with this right now, but they only have the window from Fielder, and the percentage is ticking up. They're getting close to 100%, so last fight territory for the San Francisco
Proper's got the pulse bomb in hand, maybe looking for Fielder. Mikey's already on top of him though, has to use that lamp. Nice boop away from Chio, but the lamp going down is bad news, Bears. Fielder just getting targeted. He almost wins the 1v1 versus Proper and forces recall. However, that window still doing a fair bit of damage. Fearless on the Doomfist, didn't want to play the Rhine no more. The San Francisco Shock is still in control of the point. Fielder wins the 1v1, but the Pulse Bomb finishes him off from the grave. Overtime still ticking down, and luckily Chio is on the point to re-trigger OT. Gurio can come back in, Sparkle on the Tracer. Everybody from the Fuel are on very high mobility heroes, but it's if they can actually find these kills. A nice pulse bomb from Sparkle. The lamp ends up dying, but the Shock still control the point. Sam gets chased up and killed by Gurio, but those mines are making it hard for the Dallas Fuel to navigate around the center column. The Shock still staying alive for as long as possible, and Finn using the Transcendence might be the final nail in the coffin. The Dallas Fuel could wipe away all those shields though if Gurio gets that EMP, but he's not quite quick enough. This should just be it. Fearless is back. Overtime's going to disappear in a blink of an eye if the Dallas Fuel aren't careful. A nice hack onto Mikey, but once again dives straight back into the ball of form, and there it is. The San Francisco Shock take round one.
Fuel just not able to get their foot in the door after losing that control. Gurio has the EMP, but just can't find an opportunity to use it, and the Shock just keep getting picks. And you can see how the Shock want to play against that start from the Dallas Fuel. Get onto Fielder, not allow him to move around the map and just isolate him. Yes, the immortality field goes down, but they just sustain through it and then punish him after that immortality field is gone. So now we're out of control center. What direction are the Dallas Fuel going to go? Fearless onto the Doomfist, something that we saw him struggle with in the kickoff clash. Are they not comfortable on this double flex support?
Maybe, maybe not. Still sticking with the Doomfist. I mean, running something like a Ryan here, bit of a fool's gambit, I think, Scott. But San Francisco Shock also changing things up. Sam switching over to Echo. A lot of aerial control. A bit harder for Fearless to operate too.
Moira Zen is an interesting pick from them as well. I don't think I've ever seen this combo in the history of Overwatch League. It doesn't really seem to work too well together, but that is how strong this Zenyatta is with the changes. And Finn automatically getting value, picking off Fielder on the other end.
He's got to survive now. Oh, you see him just kick? I'm still surprised how far you get sent with that kick, man. It's insane.
It's not a kick, it's a punt these days. Did you see him just boop away? And that is what makes Zen so strong. Not just health,
nice
but
hack.
if anyone tries to get too close,
you know what? He'd be a good rugby player. A good kicker, that's for sure. Bit of Johnny Wilkinson. Boom. All right, 15% for the Shock. Again, they take the point first. Sparkle now changing over, so they've swapped roles here, Scott. It's quite interesting when you look at the Dallas Fuel DPS line, how much flexibility they do have. Gurio doing a fair bit of damage to the Wrecking Ball. Mikey ends up going down, but they've sustained way too many casualties, I think, for the Fuel to continue this fight. Fielder and Chio are going to come back from the spawn, but the Shock just are willing to give this point up. Even Fearless falling. Yeah, I mean, with Moira staying alive there, Scott, it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah, it's just so hard for them to get in. They have to commit so many resources to get close to the Shock. By then, they don't have any gas left in the tank. And the Shock with the Moira, they have so much sustainability and so much survivability that the Dallas Fuel just aren't getting the picks fast enough. They need to play faster and find a way to get on this backline without dying in the process.
They've got the perfect tools now. EMP's coming up at about 3%. So maybe interrupting that coalescence is going to be the name of the game. But Mikey going down first. Okay, nice pulse bomb from Gurio. Starts off the fight pretty well. Are the Fuel going to rely on that EMP? That is the question. There's the coalescence. Perfect time to Sparkle to act. But in fact, the Dallas Fuel end up just capping the point. They might just be happy with this playing a little bit back now, but more defensively. But a perfect pulse bomb from Proper ends Chio's life. And now the EMP cannot be used. You cannot use it right now. The Dallas Fuel, with everybody falling around Sparkle, they end up losing the point. Sam throwing that pulse bomb away. He's a copy. He's changing back into the Echo. The Dallas Fuel unwilling to act early there, Scott. Even with Violet using that coalescence, that's the perfect time to go in if you're Sparkle.
I was surprised Fielder didn't use that Transcendence to just give them time. Yeah, maybe they still lose the team fight, but now they almost get nothing for that, and we're in last fight territory.
Just getting bowled around like a bowler
does have that EMP. Is he going to use it?
He's going to have to. There it is. Four-man hack. Finn instantly dying. That buff on the Zen, a little bit extra HP in the kick ain't gonna help you survive against that EMP when your shields are stripped away. The manual hack onto Violet, he's not doing so hot, and finally the Dallas Fuel have found their teeth. The Shock have got 99%. Same kind of situation here from as Control Center. Finn with the Transcendence, just saving up the ults is important, but the Dallas Fuel only utilizing the EMP in that fight, Scott. Good ultimate economy. They've got 2 support ults coming up.
Yeah, saving those double support ultimates are going to be very clutch moving on, as you see Sam actually move off the Echo onto the Sombra himself. So the Dallas Fuel, they need to be smart with these ultimates, not use them both, and use them to slow these fights down and find their engagement window. But Finn has the Transcendence.
Probably looking for another pulse. Oh, nice pick onto Gurio. Unfortunately, that pulse bomb is going to land. But straight into Proper! Oh, return to sender, son! Oh, Proper gets killed with his own pulse bomb. Oh, he's going to feel that tomorrow. The San Francisco Shock still putting up a good fight, though. But Chio's overhealth from the rally is seeing them through a lot of this damage that Finn and Proper are doing. The San Francisco Shock, stung with their own ultimates there. How unfortunate. Proper not changing. He's not rage switching. He's still sticking on that Tracer. 50% now for the Fuel. They use both support ultimates in that fight.
Yeah, and now we're getting into last fight territory for the Dallas Fuel as well. Fearless has that ultimate, so he is going to go aggressive. But Violet on the Coalescence, they're going to want to route towards the White Room and get onto the back line, like I was saying that the Shock needed to protect before. We're seeing them move over the bridge. When is the go time going to be for Violet?
Right, Coalescence activated. A fade straight into the back line, but already Mikey has fallen. Chio managed to find the boop off the map. The support's pretty bloodthirsty at the side of the Fuel. Fielder takes out Violet. Violet was using that Coalescence, a couple of clean orbs to the dome, resulted in a kill. And now Dallas Fuel in one fight territory. Gurio is trying to chase down Proper, who's currently in their spawn. They eventually clean him up, and now the Fuel have 3 ults to work with in this last fight.
Maybe not even one fight. We're at 95%. The Shock are going to have to trickle onto the point. And look at how many ultimates the Fuel have to defend this as well.
Strike coming in.
The first
straight to the back, but Gurio ends up going down. Nice CMP from Sparkle, but where's the damage? Can't really claim Violet's life. Just at the very end, a couple of headshots were good enough. Violet couldn't right-click him fast enough. The Fuel control the point. And they've controlled this entire round, it feels like. That ultimate economy just looking stellar. Proper, though, killing both supports, but a quick punch into the wall from Fearless secures them the round. The Dallas Fuel tie up control. What a piece.
Ooh, interesting play from the Fuel, playing a very different style to what the Shock want to play. The Shock, we know that they have this superior double flex players in Finn and Violet, and they want to lean onto that. The Zen Moira, I don't know so much about that one. It didn't really work for them so far in that round. The Fuel just felt like they were able to move around the map too free, and the Shock weren't able to sustain through it.
It was pretty tough. I mean, we criticised Sparkle a little bit there for not using his EMP fairly late, but in general, the Dallas Fuel ultimate economy is looking super clean. And Violet, you don't really expect Fielder to be hitting those shots. Yeah, I saw him shift. He jumped straight into the back, hit Coalescence, and hope to lay waste to the back line of the Dallas Fuel, but Chio has just been impressing me day after day after day. We see him. He got a nice early boop onto Mikey, and that's a lot of the disruption gone.
And he took down, you know, Proper with his own pulse bomb, which is a nice play in its own play. But yeah, he's been absolutely impressing me as well throughout this this season. I'm excited to see more of Gurio as well on other things that aren't the Widowmaker. Obviously, that is a superior hit scan hero, but we've seen him play other things so far. He's been able to play the Sojourn, some other things, bits and pieces. But I want to see him step up, and I'll keep hitting that drum until he hits that level, because I love the Dallas Fuel and I want to see them hit that point, and Gurio has that potential.
Yeah, just in a brief pause, but it looks like both teams are ready. Just reading match chat. I'm cheating a little bit. It's all good though. Final round. Okay, yeah, I'm pausing. Good stuff. We're back in. Final round of Lijiang Tower. Every single time, Lijiang Tower, Lijiang Tower. Like, it's just in my head. That is what the map is called at this point. Every single time. And I haven't even cast the dragons.
Yeah, every single time. And here's the thing. I think Chio has been putting his foot forward for Chio Tower. Ooh. And just because of plays like these time and time again. Oh, and that's the boost I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. It was a punch interrupt from Fearless. Just perfect stuff.
Clean play from them and the Dallas Fuel, and that's what makes them so good. Now we're rolling out again. We have the Shock going back onto that Wrecking Ball, Zen Baptiste style, but the Fuel are going to stay with their Doomfist Sombra.
Like I said before, I really like the versatility the Dallas Fuel DPS line. Sparkle playing the Sombra still. Gurio was playing Sombra originally on the Control Center. Shock have taken the outside. Bit tough for actually Fuel to aggress here. They don't want to get booped off the map, of course. Oh, speaking of which, whoa, triple blink from Gurio. Had to back straight off. There you go, that's what I'm saying. You get to the back of the point and there's a whole lot of damage waiting for you. Nice point cap from Shock, though. That's 3 times in a row now that they've captured the point first.
Yeah, and the Shock need to be able to have that defensive line, and they're going to be able to have that as well. They're just going to keep putting out damage and then slowly stepping back. But Finn, how impressive has he been this season? Oh,
he got booped into the Sombra and he just landed the kick. It feels like you know, the April Fool's patch that we had quite some time ago when they put that in. That's what it feels like, but I love it. It should be here to stay. But it's insane that it buffs Zen to such a point, especially on a map like this, where you don't really need to play Lucio if you want to get environmental kills now. It's ridiculous.
Oh no, that's the one thing us Lucio players have. You can't take this away from us.
Too bad. We got damage, and now we have environmental kill. All right, the Shock, they got 40% on the board. Proper looking for a way into the backline. He's so close to that pulse swap. He's found Chio, but a nice response from Gurio, forcing Proper away. In fact, forcing his recall. Fearless going pretty low, has that power block, and has the lamp at his backside. The Shock, they end up foregoing that point. Gurio ends up dying to his old pulse bomb. A little flick of the wrist there from Proper to try and get the stick onto Fearless, but he was a little bit too high in the air. The Shock doing a good job of clearing the fuel off of the point, but still burning a lot of time are the fuel. They've managed to cap in the chaos. The Shock eventually get the recap there. They lost about 13% though.
Well, that's actually an important 13% because if you add that onto the Shock's time, we'd be going into last fight territory, so they do get another fight here. Sparkle with that EMP needs to find some purchase. The Shock do not have the defensive ultimates to sustain through it, so they need to find a way to get him in.
EMP being set up. Okay, that's the target. He's found Finn. Fearless going in already. Finn trying to do a little bit of spy checking, but it's not working out thus far. Sparkle going pretty low, but instantly healed up. Fielder using the window on one of the door's entrances, making it hard for anybody to step in front of it. Nice EMP. Instantly, Mikey goes down. Those mines meant nothing. The EMP just wipes them out, and now Fearless on the outside trying to look for some environmental kills of his own. The Dallas Fuel with a quite quick and easy team fight there. End up clapping the point again. Oh,
yeah, and we said that he needs to come up big, and he does, but Fielder dying there actually might be a big deal because all of a sudden, that's time that he's going to have to get back to the point. If the Shock go fast, they might be able to take this team fight without Fielder being in it.
Cheers Transcendence there, forced out. Sam was in the back line trying to make sure they get that support out of the way ASAP. However, with Mikey going down, not a good look for the Shock, but they're still willing to fight this one. A copy is going to get instantly annihilated. Sam not getting any value with that ultimate, but Proper just on his lonesome is getting the value and more some. What? How are the Shock letting this happen? Proper just found like 5 kills. The Dallas Fuel not even looking his way. He was just too quick. His feet too fancy. Final fight now for the Dallas Fuel. They need to be able to touch 99%, eventually contested.
You can tell they're under pressure here. They're going to try and get through this choke point. They have made it to the point, and Mikey is low, but they have nothing left in the tank in terms of ultimates. The Shock have decided to slow down, try and get to that Transcendence.
Gurio spots the lamp, tries to take it out. A beautiful stick! He gets the kill, but Mikey finishes him off. Too many kills for the San Francisco Shock as Finn using that Transcendence. A little victory light show. The San Francisco Shock on their way to get revenge. Fuel down a map, but they're not out just yet. Proper at the very end there, Scott. 5+ kills. Like, this is still an animal. On land, online, doesn't matter. This guy is here and he means business.
It's not even surprising at this point for Proper. He just does it. You need to shut him down if you're the opposition team. You can't just expect that he's not going to get that value. And Gurio on that Tracer just was not able to match. And the Shock at the first map.
They do indeed. A couple more and they would have secured themselves some sweet, sweet revenge. We're going to jump to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Got more coming up.
Overwatch League champions! Whoever said lightning doesn't strike twice has never met the San Francisco shot!
Some of the most hardcore carry performances that I've ever seen.
Just a depth of talent on their roster that can't be denied.
I mean, what more can you ask from the Shock? This is going to be a wild ride.
Violet is cracked. He's out of his mind. I say that justice. Okay.
Tasted everything right now.
Jesus Christ, dude. Sam is deadlifting right now, actually. Finish is doing so much. Cleans it up like DPS and Yada.
San Francisco has cemented themselves as the greatest team in Overwatch.
What's up? Welcome back. Dallas Fuel and the Shock. Head-to-head right now. Now, the Dallas Fuel, they came in off a sweet 3-0 victory against the Shock in the kickoff clash. Very different story right now, though. Scots, they're currently up a map. 2-1 was the scoreline on Control. We saw varying compositions across the entirety of it. It looked like the Dallas Fuel had one idea going into Command Center. They wanted to run this brawl style, this rush with the Sim and with the Rhine, but then it felt like as soon as they saw Mikey just popping off on the Wrecking Ball, they were like, no, we need to switch to Sombra.
No.
Switch Sombra, switch Doomfist. Okay, now we're online.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and we're going to see that evolution of the meta throughout the entirety of this mid-season tournament, because there were so many drastic changes that changed the game in so many places, and at the crux of it, in my opinion, is the Zenyatta. That 25 extra health plus that kick is just so survivable that it makes it difficult to play the Winston, something that was very prominent in the kickoff clash. So that's why you're seeing so many different looks from these different teams, and it's going to take time for them to work out what is going to be good, what is the proper way to play the game. And that's why you see so many substitutions right here. You see Hanbin coming in, Edison coming in. I don't expect them to be able to play the Xayah composition that was so good in Kickoff Clash. I don't know, Jack, do you think they could make it work with all these changes?
It feels like it, but right now, if you're just playing someone like Sojin, yeah, I mean, you can get charge off the Xayah bubbles, but it doesn't feel like it's almost fast enough, right? There's so many off angles that people are taking right now. Tracer and Sojin on 2 different off angles. Your supports are chilling, and then you got a Wrecking Ball just kind of rolling through you. It's like the Xayah, I think, just gets a little bit more overwhelmed than anything. We'll have to wait and see, though. We jump onto Midtown.
And that's it.
Second map.
And we've seen so many different looks from Midtown. We've seen people try the rush. We've seen the Xayah composition. How are people going to adjust on Midtown? It is a map where you have a lot of high grounds. You could potentially get high value from Sojin or Ashe. I know a lot of teams in the East have played a lot of Ashe, not so much in the West. Is anyone going to start adopting that style of playing the game? Hanbin historically has been a phenomenal Sigma as well, so it's a look that we know that the Dallas Fuel can do with that poke composition.
Yeah, Kalush coming in for the San Francisco Shock. Playing the Sigma. Okay, proper. Oh, this is what I want to see. Superstar DPS on the Sojin. Oh man, that pick is so devastating. And with the increase of the like the beam size with the right clicks, doubling its size, it's hitting headshots a little bit easier, but it makes for just some unreal clips. Like, we've already seen some crazy headshots on Tracers in our previous series. Like, this tournament's only going to get better the more Sojin we see, is what I'm saying.
3, 2,
I was already fearing for my life in Overwatch 2 as a support player. Now seeing these pro players pick up the Sojourn is just on another level, but it's actually a very different look from Dallas Fuel. Leaning into the rush once again with Edison on that Symmetra, likely to try and TP into that window, get that point control, but the Shock is going to want to put out damage from a distance. They have a high damage composition and will not be able to take the head-to-head fight with Fuel. So it's going to be a game of maneuvering around the point while trying to defend.
Well, looks like everybody is safe for the time being from the Fires Fuel. However, those sticky bombs from Sam doing a fair amount of damage. TP destroyed, then reused to get to the back line. They've swapped sides.
Did they catch the
Finn? Alrighty.
But trying to play a little bit of prop hunt. Menace in the corner, gets caught on the mini pack. But look at how smartly the Dallas Fuel are moving around this map. Just trying to isolate anyone they can. But they need to start getting time in.
Oh no, Violet! Oh wait! No way! Did the stickies kill the Armbit before he connected with that pin? That was like a couple of frames, I think, before Violet's life would have disappeared. Sam though, on this Echo, already picking up 2 kills. Proper Kalush adding their names to that kill feed. Wow, nice rotations for the Fuel there, Scott, but the San Francisco Shock killing off Hanbin. That was their key to victory there.
That was so calm, cool, and collected until Hanbin decided he was going to pin across the point and try and get Violet. Almost worked. I could have seen a .25, but now that's a minute and a half off the clock for the Dallas Fuel, and they didn't really accomplish anything. So the San Francisco Shock, they have that window from Violet. They're going to be able to counter any movement the Fuel make. So this is an uphill battle.
Look, they're doing the same thing again. TP to the apartment. TP probably. Oh, it depends where they... Okay, TP to the high ground, all right. It's because they have to wait for the... Oh, my word. Okay. Window up, fielder down. Okay, Cassidy copy for Sam, already killing off the copy target in Gurio. And the San Francisco Shock burning the Dallas Fuel time bank. Oh, Chio, luckily.
Oh,
very quick beat there. And look at that, 2 minutes to go.
And this is why we were wondering if the rush comp was going to work against this high damage output compositions, because the Sojourn can charge the rail up off of the Rhine shield, and then that's just high damage to get the Zenyatta, the Baptiste. It can be so hard to even close any distance if you're the Fuel, and they're struggling right now with only a minute and a half left.
Talked about it before, Scott, but the railgun with the window, combo that one-shots 200 HP targets. Got to be careful.
Can be a body shot landed at that point.
It's going to be great. I just need a bat to get ult. Ooh. Nice disruptor shot, actually, stopping that teleporter from doing anything. So Edison doesn't use it. Now, eventually, is going to go for it. Wall on the point.
All down.
But the window from San Francisco Shock might be able to burn through the wall's HP. It's going down rather rapidly. And the Dallas Fuel need to go. 1 minute remains in their time bank. They use that beat to surge them forward, and finally they find a kill. But Proper with the beams finds one. A second. Can he get the next? Gurio super low. Proper with the left hook finds the triple kill in the fight. The Dallas Fuel don't know where their heads are right now. I'll tell you where they are. They're rolling across the floor. The Shock have burned their time bank down to 30 seconds. They need to get a move on. They've got a couple of ults in their bank, but that is it. The Shock looking to hold first.
Collusion chat, brute. That's Proper bringing his team across the line with just brute force. The Sojourn ultimates are such highlight reels, and Proper is no slouch at highlight reels, so gets the job done. And Dallas Fuel used a lot of their ultimates to get this, so how are they going to get these next 2 ticks in the last fight with only 10 seconds?
Good luck hitting that shadow. There's so many moving pieces for Shock, like a well-oiled engine. Hanbin lining people up, or at least trying to. Shadow goes down, but can they follow up the damage? That Deadeye is used from the small little pipe work room there. Not sure if that's going to get a good angle. Finn now in a little bit of trouble. A nice 3 hit from Gurio takes care of the support. And now the Shock are in trouble. Sam has a copy. Copies Sam, copies the Cassidy once again. A double stick, but no. Gurio comes up big. He kills Sam's copy, and then Sam survives with 1 HP. But Proper's there to clean up the mess. The Shock, they hold Dallas on first. 65% in the bank for the Fuel. There's a win condition there, but it's looking pretty unlikely that they finish this.
Gurio coming up big with a couple of those picks, but just not big enough. And you start to see why maybe some of these teams aren't going to lean on the rush style. The San Francisco Shock in their comfort with this double flex is just so much damage pumping out. And Dallas just not able to get a single footing. And you have to use this as a reason of why the Shock are going to be so dominant in this mid-season. Everyone is firing on all cylinders on their comfort heroes as well. Proper showing prowess on that Sojourner hero that we haven't seen that much of, really paving the way for how much damage you need to expect these Sojins to get out.
Absurd right now. Whew. I'm going to need a replay of that proper hit in that 2K with a rifle. I'm telling you, the clips that we're going to get out of Midseason Madness are going to be insane. Oh, here you go. Oh, just pops the overclock. And like I said, you can do a lot of damage with body shots, but when you're hitting rails like this, oh my word. And a nice little slide and a punch. Gurio didn't know what hit him. Very nice. Very nice.
The arena shooter in me is just enjoying this gameplay. It's just so much fun to see the speed in which he has that hit scan play, and absolutely dominant. And Kaluj, I want to shout out on that Sigma as well. A hero that we didn't see him play too much of in the kickoff clash, but he is the self-proclaimed best Sigma in the world. So really showing some good performances against a player at the caliber of Hanbin. But now we see the Dallas Fuel go over to the comp that we saw the Shock use, playing that double flex support with Hanbin on that Sigma. And instead of the Sojin, interestingly enough, Fury on the Hanzo.
Okay. A lot of shield pressure from the Hanzo at least. The San Francisco Shock, and I think Sam is the key target right here, but the Dallas Fuel's ability to tag him is going to be quite tough unless Gurio hits some cracked shots.
Yeah, and we know Hanzo can put out good damage, but I'm surprised we're not seeing the Sojin here. With the Sigmas out on the lineup, you can charge that rail up off the shield from the Sigma quite quickly. And that's a one-shot capability that's a lot more easy to hit and a skill shot compared to the Hanzo, which just feels like a lottery at some points, just shooting in their general direction, hoping you hit the headshot. But the Shock have firmly got themselves into this mega health pack room, trying to get the damage up.
Without a teleporter either. So have to push Dallas Fuel off of the high ground though, or he's forced them to burn abilities or rotate. There you go, there's the eat. Gurio in a little bit of trouble. Little fancy footwork. Oh, nice 180 from Gurio. Takes care of Proper. Don't need to charge up a railgun for that, that's for sure. Looks like Shock just want to go again. No point, they lost 2 already. Just a bit of a cleanup. Don't dive to Batiste, we're good. All good.
And interestingly enough, the Dallas Fuel, they did get a tick and a half, so they are in the driver's seat of this. If they full hold, which this is a point that looks very full holdable in these style of compositions because of how defensively your backline can play, it can be very difficult to get in. So this is a winnable scenario for the Dallas Fuel.
Okay, they're rolling the dice. They got the Hanzo out. So I'm just trying to hit some headshots from afar. So whoever gets the, so it reminds me of the Colosseo comps where it's like waiting for the headshot from the Hanzo.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Caught it. Oh, there's another one. Okay, both Hanzos secured a kill each. A bit more valuable though for Dallas Fuel. Their spawn point is ever so close. Pulse bomb. Finn using that kick, keeping Edison at range. Edison's pretty low. Finn dives straight back out after picking that health back up. However, Fielder has taken the game into his own hands. Couple of kills for him using that window. Still got to be careful. Those Batiste still do a fair bit of work and a fair bit of damage. The Shock, they've made some nice space, Scott. Finn specifically, who's alone right now. Oh no, Violet's joined him. Okay.
Live by the picks, die by the picks there for the Shock. They get that great opening, but just can't close anyone else out after that. Finn gets a good pick against the Tracer, but they're using the Flux aggressively, and the Tracer comes out from Finn.
They're trying to separate with that shield, and in fact, Violet ends up going down. That shield from the Sigma ended up stopping a lot of that healing going through, and now Finn and Proper putting themselves on the kill feed. With a minute to go, the San Francisco Shock are in a good position to take this first point. Hanbin in a whole world of trouble. This spawn point is pretty close. The Dragons from the spawn doors, yeah, they don't quite end up going onto the point itself. Not even really doing much of anything. They need to be able to touch. Okay, Gurio is in, but Shio is already dead. And now is every man for themselves. The Fuel have to keep stalling, trying to find picks, but it's looking rather unwinnable. And that it is. The San Francisco Shock looking to sweep 2-0 now. After they take Midtown, the Dallas Fuel are just not looking like themselves right now.
And this isn't too surprising from my perspective, because the Dallas Fuel as a team, yes, had success in the kickoff clash coming in second, but they really were only good on the back of that Xayah composition. They played a bit of rush, their dive looked a little shaky, but they haven't looked as competent on multiple different compositions so far this season, like we know from them in 2021, 2020. So I want to see a little bit more flexibility or maybe even some more comfort from them, because so far we've seen a couple of looks with Fearless in. We saw Harbin just come in, try and play the rush, and nothing has worked. They need to find a style like they did with the Zarya in the kickoff clash.
Well, that style can be found. They've got a deep roster, Scott, so maybe they bring in a few extra pieces, muddle them around yet again. We'll see if there's more subs. We're going to jump to a quick break. Could be a 3-0 for the Shock. You have to wait and find out after this. Calling all community artists, submit your art celebrating the Overwatch League for a chance to be featured on the fan art gallery and maybe even make an appearance on the broadcast. There's been some crazy artwork recently, Scott, being featured, and yeah, it's good to see how much talented talent. Yeah, that's a sentence. See how much talented talent there is out there.
Art forever amazes me at how good these people are. I've tried drawing before. I know this might be shocking, but I'm worse than Matt. I'm worse than Matt.
Impossible.
I couldn't do Carl. That's a masterclass compared to me. But enough of me. Let's talk about this game. We're going on to Circuit Royale. We see Kilo coming in for Sam. Not too surprising. This is a map that I think, with all the changes that are coming in, with all the patches, this is the map that I expect to stay the most the same. I would expect to see Kilo coming on that Widow matchup against Gurio just because of those really long sidelines.
Oh yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. It's good. I'm glad we're seeing a little bit of Circuit Royale too, Scott, because it's very much been dominated by Sigma, but with the new patch coming in, I wonder if it does change anything for any teams. We saw London a little bit last time around, not obviously on last series, but when they played this in the previous patch and Kickoff Clash, they were just trying to force that brawl, and it was working out for them more often than not. I want to see if any teams coming up with some wacky stuff. Okay. I'm thinking of the Shock when I think Circuit Royale. I think proper Bastion. Is that going to happen? Probably not, but it could. Maybe. We'll see.
Just asking for the wheels out here. I think it is a good counter to the Rush. So if the Dallas Fuel do come out on the Rush, which they already have in this series so far, I could see it coming out from Proper. But I doubt it to see both of those teams do it. From the looks of these lineups that the Dallas Fuel is walking out, this is what we expect. That Widow Hanzo just high damage through these corridors, making it impossible for the offensive team to walk forward. So this will be interesting to see how the Dallas Fuel match up, because so far I feel like they've been losing to themselves with compositions a little bit, but this is the first skill matchup that we're going to see. Is Chio going to be proficient on that Zenyatta? Because that seems to be the biggest thing going for the Shock right now.
Really? Are you really doing this? Are you really doing...
Always.
Why are you interrupting Finn's performance, Violet?
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, well.
Come on, Violet.
We expect better from you. The elder of the team, we're expecting better from you. Come on now. All right, okay. The Shock, they're running proper on the Tracer. No double sniper for San Francisco.
I actually like this, because I think it can be difficult to play the Hanzo on attack. Ooh. Close shot there from Kilo onto Gurio on that jump shot. Proper's actually going to move over to the Genji, seeing the double sniper here as well. Oh, Chio's in an awkward spot right now, but Gurio recovering fire.
A little bit more of an awkward one, I think. That was really nice. I mean, we talked about Gurio at the start of the series, Scott, and I said, well, like, he was a little bit streaky on the Widowmaker in the kickoff clash. He had some very nice moments, but he did struggle just a little bit. I think this is time for redemption.
Yeah, and I think he did have some good performances.
Yeah, there it is.
And this is starting to aid into that as well. I want to see him absolutely find his footing, because he did say he was nervous in his earlier matches, but he seems to be comfortable. Harbin stepping up a little bit to Kaluj with that confidence and goes down, and then that's going to snowball for the San Francisco Shock. And look at how far the card is already. With how late the Dallas Fuel members are dying, are they going to get another clean recontest on this first point?
They've got Lucio, so they can't speed. At least they're able to get the high ground ASAP. But yeah, it looks rather tough for the Dallas Fuel to get a decent position in defending here. And is Harbin even going to jump down? He's got to, right? I mean, he's got to? There he is. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to drop down. Gurio's got that angle. Oof. Violet on the Baptiste is something gets caught.
There it is.
And he gets
okay,
here.
Nice shot from Kilo, though. They do trade, but support for a DPS. I'll take that any day of the week if I'm the Fuel. Spawn's not bad either. There you go. Sights activated. Kilo close to his. Feel like I normally wait for my opponent to use their sights, then I counter sights, but Gurio's feeling himself right now.
As you have to if you're an Overwatch League Widowmaker. You can't give anyone respect. Harbin's putting pressure onto Kaluj, getting so low in that room, but the Kilo infra sights come out a little bit later, as you said, so they do have the
pretty low. Can't really use a lot of his sights now. Nice flux by Harbin. Kaluj was sent pretty low, so actually just died in the air. Good defense so far for the Dallas Fuel. Gurio using that window to such great effect, but the blade from Proper is going to be nice. There's one, there's two. Can he find a third? He jumps up to the high ground, a little bit lost and confused, but it's okay because Gurio tried to touch the payload. Proper clutches up there at the very last moment.
Great play by Proper, showing why he wants to play that Genji. When you have that ultimate and there's no Transcendence up from Chio, you can just go absolutely crazy. But I want to highlight Violet here. He got slammed a lot last year for getting picked first when Baptiste was played so much. His positioning is very aggressive and he does a lot of jumping and he gets picked, and that was a common trend on that first point that we saw just there, getting caught out. I understand he's a bloodthirsty support, but he needs to be able to stay alive, especially against these pick compositions.
All right, this has got the Dragons in hand. So Flux from Kaluj. What a shot, I mean.
Again.
Woo. Yeah, getting picked first, maybe not the topic we should have started on there. Not the best, maybe cursed him just a little bit. That's unfortunate. I mean, sometimes you can't really help it with the Hanzos. They just kind of peek and then you're dead. Rough stuff. All right, Kalu's actually still going to commit here, Scott. Flux, however, instantly lands. Kalu's going pretty low, has to use that suck to try and eat all that damage, turn it into overshield, and now they're still pushing forward. With one person down, they don't really seem to care. It was very quick for Proper to get back, though. Switching over to the Genji, or Violet to get back, I should say.
Chio having great presence of mind there, recognizing they don't need the Transcendence, so that's going to be awesome for them going into this next fight. He can potentially save it for the next time Proper just tries to pull that blade.
There's no nano boost for the blade either. Dragons in the corner. Nice reactions from Violet. They're jumping straight over. He was crouched that whole time, I could imagine. Violet's Immortality field being burnt already. Transcendence forward, they're just going to go straight in. Gurio maybe in a little bit of trouble in the back line, but Proper's going to get quickly turned on. Kaluj instantly goes down, but Violet finding a little bit of extra damage. But, oh, hang on a second. Wait, they're just kicking him. They're kicking him with the spawn. Finn just kicked Harbin all the way down the stairs. Okay, well, never thought I'd see that. But still finding this small corridor against the Hanzo, maybe not so great. The Dallas Fuel with very close spawns are able to go back to the payload rather quickly.
Support players rejoicing around the world, realizing that we can now push the tanks around. We've been bullied for so many years in Overwatch, and Zenyatta's rubbing their hands together. So it's actually high damage output as well, because it's not just the push from the kick now, it's actually 50% more damage, which goes to 45 if my math is correct. So that is a good amount of consistent damage if you can kick them into that wall. But we're running out of time for the San Francisco Shock. Minute and a half left. They have the ultimates coming up. Can Proper go crazy with the blade?
Go a little bit crazy. Yes, he can. What a flick onto Fielder's head. There's the blade from Proper. Oh, Edison died to Violet across map. No dash reset for you, unfortunately. Nice reflect. Nope, didn't end up, it connected, I think, but Kilo ended up finishing him off.
And Kilo showing why he is on this roster on the Widowmaker, absolutely popping off with the value of those visors. And they've got through the second point. There are 2.5 left. And this third point has been a point that's been very difficult to push, especially if you're playing these pick compositions on the attack, because it's very hard to dislodge the Dallas Fuel from the high ground. There's so many opportunities. You can see the Shock trying to walk up here, and the Dallas Fuel, they can hold this corner, look for a pick, but then they can concede it and go further back, and they can keep stepping back further and further and further. They don't even want to contest with the first half of this third point.
There's both fluxes available. Harbin gets solar fluxed. I mean, that's an easy lamp and a couple of heals thrown his way. Not too much of a problem. You just don't want to face Zen in this situation, ideally. I mean, he just runs at you. There's the window to force the San Francisco Shock back. A rock around the corner too. Harbin's got the flux still in hand, but choosing not to use it. Yeah, the San Francisco Shock are way happy with this. I mean, we're just going to move the payload for free. Oh.
I don't think you're too unhappy with the Dallas Fuel. Never mind, you're very unhappy. Kilo is on the wildest flank. He's ended up in the Dallas Fuel backline.
He's at the spawn doors. Nice flux. Kilo's going to die to this. Now the Salam comes out. There it is, just in time. A Transcendence on top. Both big support. Ultimates and abilities used already from the San Francisco Shock, so they need to end this fight now. A minute to go. Finn, Proper, and Kaluj cleaning up. And the Shock pushing through third point basically for free there, Scott. End up completing Circuit Royale.
I said they could give up the first half for free, but not the second half. That was a little, maybe too aggressive from the Dallas Fuel. They wanted to punish Kaluj for that almost greedy flux. Here we had Harbin and Fielder trying to push towards him, and that entire time, Kilo routed all the way towards the Dallas Fuel spawn and gets a couple of crucial picks. And that's a minute and 14 left on the clock. That Circuit Royale is a very difficult map to finish, and San Francisco Shock has finished with time. So the Dallas Fuel, once again, coming up short and looking for answers.
Very nice stuff already, and I'm liking the adaptation too. Switching over to that Genji, really So really, it's just like a thorn in the side for the Widowmakers, and you end up, if you distract the enemy Widowmaker for long enough, your Widow can do a whole bunch more with the space that's garnered. You know what, Scott? I'm actually super glad I was so wrong in my early anticipation of how Genji was going to be in this game. Oh, what a shot. Very nice. I was like, yeah, Genji's not going to be that great. Like, it takes longer to get ult charged now, and Genji's so ult reliant, and then people started playing him from day one. I'm like, all right, I was wrong. Thank God for that, because I love Genji, and I love watching blades and stuff, you know? So I'm glad I was so wrong.
I think he's in a really good spot right now as well. He has his niche. I don't think he's as good at flanking as the Tracers, but especially against these hit scans and the characters that he can dash onto in one tap. Genji seems to have that value, and he's not as reliant on the Nano Blade as he has been in the past. So really cool to see. We're going to have Gurio come out on the Widow and Edison on the Genji, a hero that we don't really know him for so far in his Overwatch League career.
Yeah. Against the double sniper of the Shock. Edison with a quick little double jump.
Oh, make sure the mouse pad's good.
Yeah, he looked like he was wiping it down there. It's just like, all right, okay, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Oh, and... Oh, no, he's good. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Can't double jump anymore, though.
But look at the space that's garnered for the fuel. Just because of Edison getting over that corner, the Shock have to respect that, and they disengage.
Ooh, what a
Go back
shot.
to this first corner. Oh, Kilo again.
Dude, his aim is so crispy. It's kind of disgusting. Nice little body shot. Dodges out of the way at Gurio. Gurio go for the repeat. Not going to happen. Takes out Finn, though. Jesus. Oh, all right, Gurio really making me eat my own words. Said he wasn't looking so great in the kickoff clash, but now really that confidence level just boosted, I think. And maybe it was the nerves on land, Scott.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen from him so far in this match. You know, it hasn't been perfect, but he's been getting the important picks against a high-caliber player like Kilo, who's also been no slouch in this match. So playing that aggressive style, he covered off the fuel, and now they're able to hold on to that space. So now it's going to be who's going to get the opening pick, because still nobody's up to the ultimates, but Kaluj is close to that flux.
See another one from you, Kilo, or Gurio. What have you got for us? Edison dashing onto a flank here. It's going to be rather annoying for Kaluj to deal with. However, that flux is coming online for the Shock. Kilo not quite finding the enemy Widow. Slow and steady, both teams right now.
I'm curious to see how Kaluj uses this flux. He's been
There's the shot.
with
Another grapple shot onto Gurio. That's the second time that it's happened. Gurio goes for something really aggro. Again, confidence kind of just oozing out of him right now, but Kilo is there to keep him in check. Discord Orb and a body shot to finish Chio. And again, because it's slow and steady, Scott, there's a lot of time being burned. Got a minute and about 30 seconds remain by the time they get back to that payload.
Yeah, Gurio goes for the aggressive grapple, gets punished for it. I think he has to go for that though, right? Otherwise, he's just holding angles that he's never going to be able to find valuable picks. But now we're going into the big ultimate fight. Everyone has them all up. How are we going to see them used? I expect to see both teams start out with the fluxes. How are they going to respond with their defensive ultimates?
Yeah, maybe we see some Flux Dragons as a potential.
Yeah.
Classic.
Interestingly enough, Violet doesn't have the ultimate. He's on the Baptiste for defensive, but the lamp could allow Finn to hold on to that.
Everything is happening at once. Two Fluxes, there's the Transcendence, double sights and the Dragons. 17 ultimates thrown in. Who comes out on top? Don't know, because no one's dying. There we go, finally. Edison with a nice kill onto Proper with the Blade. That over health, though, and that Transcendence healing from field there is going to be do them some good. Finally, some revenge from Gurio. Finn is still kicking Hanbin away, but actually gave him the high ground advantage. Unfortunately for Kaluj, the rest of his team were torn apart, and the San Francisco Shock, they're unable to hold that first point. It took Dallas Fuel a fair amount of time. Was that an air shot? I think that was. I just saw the...
That would have been. Gurio was on the way up.
Okay, got to see that one, definitely. All right, let's see the revenge from Gurio here. Ooh!
He gets another one here as well, which opened up the fight. He gets two more towards the end of the fight that helped the Dallas Fuel close it out. So Gurio definitely coming up clutch, trying to match Kilo in this one. But that was an all-Qs fight, so now we go into a dry one. That kill by Proper did slow the movement from the Fuel, but unfortunately, they are getting that position already.
Oh. Another shot.
It's the story of the Widowmakers right now.
It very much feels like a ranked game when only the Widowmakers are playing right now. Only the Widows are doing things. All right, another jump shot. Ooh, a little spin. Makes your head harder to hit. Also disorientates you if you're a little bit lightheaded.
This can be so difficult as the attacking team trying to weave up here because the shot can take so many different angles and you have to make this upside. You can see Edison here on the right just trying to climb up, force the shock to look at him, give his team space. As you can see, Kaluj takes the rock. That might be the opening they need.
Might be Kaluj now with the Flux in hand. Harbin likewise. There it is. Flux up. Lamp available for Violet, but he gets taken out of the skies by Fielder. The Lamp did go down and save Finn's life for the time being, and now the San Francisco Shock are going to have to rely on Finn getting that Transcendence in time. Unfortunately, the lack of healing now, as Finn is the only one up, does mean Proper and Kilo end up going down. DPS dead for the Shock, and the Transcendence to try and touch that point before it gets to the second checkpoint. Sights activated from the Dallas Fuel. They know exactly where they're attacking and exactly where the Shock are right now. And that window on the sidelines for the Shock's going to be good. Straight through the window. Chio did not expect that damage from those spheres. Gurio in a very, very unwinnable position as the Widowmaker. They end up getting cleaned up, and a nice clutch Transcendence from Finn to keep them in that fight.
I thought it might have been a little greedy, thinking they weren't going to be able to reinforce, but they get to the point, and Hanbin just evaporates on the back of that Baptiste window. And that's all of a sudden, Dallas Fuel used a lot of things to try and get into that fight, and they got to make this slow crawl up this winding staircase again.
His consistency with headshots is kind of a match right now, is Kilo. All right, Sights, Dragons, that's what's available for the Shock, not so much the Fuel. They've got to get that blade. Oh my god, again, dude. Proper and Kilo having the game or the series of their lives right now. He's going to take the Gurio 1v1. Gurio knows something's happening. There you go. Venom Mine triggered. Means he's exposed. Dragons from Proper going to split up the team, and now is the time to go. Harm in a lot of trouble. Already used the E to try and absorb the damage, and it wasn't quite enough. It's 15 seconds to go. Shock looking for their revenge now, Scott, and Kalush even has that Flux in his back pocket. It's as unwinnable almost right now. Kilo again, just popping heads left, right, and center. Goes for the grapple, doesn't find another kill. He don't need it though. The Shock wiping Dallas Fuel off the map. The series is theirs. A nice bit of sweet revenge, and it's made even sweeter because they are 7-0 in the regular season now.
Ooh, has been coming in chat from Kalush. Talking the trash, the self-proclaimed best Sigma. Hey, he put up a great performance, but I can't just say that was a Sigma diff. Proper and Kilo proving why the San Francisco Shock are going to be dominant in a sniper meta. They were just getting pick after pick, not allowing the Dallas Fuel to do anything, and looking strong, while Dallas Fuel looking a little lost in their first match of the tournament once again.
Yeah, really, really tough. And diving into a brand new patch like this, of course they have time to prepare, but sometimes when Shock throws your left hook like that, you can't really block it too well. And yeah, like you said, Proper and Kilo just absolutely destroying. It was a Widowmaker game. That was it. That was Circuit Royale. It was just Widowmaker POV almost the entire time. A little bit of Hanzo as well there. I would like to see a couple of those Proper kills with the arrows. Like, he was hitting some air shots on Gurio. Stuff you don't normally see. And yeah, the double sniper on that map still reigns supreme.
Yeah, if anyone asks, Hanzo is not the counter to Widowmaker. People in my ranked games, not everyone is Proper.
But if I hit a headshot, Scott,
different breed.
She dies.
No, Jack.
Oh, no,
Jack. I know you want to do it, but you're not going to do it. Okay, it's impressive to see the Shock at their full power. I think they didn't have that flexibility in the previous tournament, leaned on that Winston, but the flexibility of them being able to move Proper onto any hero is coming up aces.
Unfortunately,
so
no Bastion for Proper, but he does get the player of the match, of course. I mean, the guy can do everything, like you said. The Tracer on Lijiang Tower, just carrying some of those fights, finding 5 kills sometimes. His Hanzo looks fantastic. And just everything else he ends up picking up. Like his Sojourn, he had a nice clip on too. Like, prodigy DPS player right here. Are we really shocked? And that's something you said right here, Scott, in fact. Are we really shocked at this point that we're seeing big numbers from Proper and player of the matches like this? I don't think we are. No one should be shocked. He is a superstar.
No one is ever shocked. The haters of the Proper MVP train before the season began are starting to question themselves, because he has just been so incredible in everything that he's touched. He just puts up highlight reel after highlight reel, as you said. Like, it's so impressive to see him do it on so many other heroes as well. But I like everything from the Shock. Look at these numbers. The pulse bomb attach rate, only 4 deaths. And that's hard to do, not die that much in a meta like this. We talked about how Zenyatta has gotten a lot beefier. They've been at the gym lifting the weights. It's harder for a Tracer to deal with that, but Proper says no problem.
Yeah, and we saw in the first series of the day, sometimes, especially with that right-click like area increase, the beam is a bit thicker now. It's a little bit easier to headshot Tracers. Like we saw, you know, just Tracer double blinking into a Sojourn, then, oh, beam to the head, and you're dead. Like, that's what you need to do if you're a Tracer right now. Just dodge in, weave out of the beams, and 4 deaths per 10, and then almost getting 10 final blows per 10. Like, what more can you really ask for?
Yeah.
Superstar for sure. We're going to jump to a quick break, though. Another banging series coming up after this. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Well, welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here joined now by San Francisco Shocks, one and only Violet. Hello, Violet. Violet 선수 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요. hello.
hello. Alright, well, this was a quick and easy. Why are you laughing? 왜 웃어요?
아, 너무 무뚝뚝하게 말한 것 같아가지고 아닙니다.
All right. All right. Violet says that he was just laughing because he thought he was a little too stiff, his answer. But you weren't. You were great. So let's just quickly talk about this match. This was a quick, easy 3-0 for the San Francisco Shock. How did you guys prepare for your match against the Dallas Fuel? 자, 이제 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 경기 3대0으로 좀 어떻게 보면 좀 쉽게 달라스를 이제 해주셨는데 오늘 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
아무래도 이번에 제냐타랑 바티스트가 버프를 먹으면서 저희가 원래 강하다고 생각했던 조합이 투 서브 힐러 조합 제냐타 바티스트였는데 마침 그게 두 개가 동시 버프가 먹으면서 이번 델러스전 좀 쉽게 가겠다. 왜냐면 저희가 델러스 상대로 자리아 조합이 졌는데 뭐 자리아 해도 제냐타 바티스트도 이길 수 있다 생각했고 뭐 그냥 좀 쉽게 이길 거라 생각했던 것 같아요. 이번 메타는.
이번 메타는. All right. So going into today's match, we knew that the Zen and Baptiste buff was going to come in, and because of that, we always thought that the two sub healer composition that we were using was always going to be good, and we were actually really happy that both Zen and Baptiste got the buff because we were sort of thinking about using both of them, and now they have the buff, so it really worked out for our team. So because of that, against the Dallas Fuel, we were predicting that this match was going to go in our favor and it was going to be a lot easier. And even if we didn't know what composition the Dallas Fuel were going to come out with, but even if they were going to come out with the Zarya composition, we were pretty sure that if we could run the Zen Bap, then it was going to be an easy win for the San Francisco Shock and also for this meta as well. All right. Talking about the composition and talking about healers and supports, I feel like I want to ask you about the Moira pick on Lijiang Garden. I think it was something that a lot of people were very surprised and very interested. I just want to ask you, how did you come up with the Moira pick in Lijiang Garden? 자, 두 번째 질문은 방금 이제 힐러진의 얘기가 나와서 여쭤보고 싶은 게 생겼는데 이번에 리장 정원에서 이제 바일러 선수가 모이라를 픽을 하시고 이게 제가 봤을 때 그 조합이 젠 모이라 볼 이렇게 좀 갔었는데 이게 저희가 한 번도 본 적이 없어서 좀 되게 좀 신선한 조합이라고 생각을 해서 그거에 대한 좀 설명 좀 부탁드릴게요.
한번 스크림에서 이제 러쉬 조합 상대로 바티스트가 좀 살기 힘든 그런 맵들이나 구간이 있어가지고 제가 리테이크 때 한번 모이라로 바꿨는데 되게 잘 통하더라고요. 야타 피가 225 된 것도 있고 이제 저희가 볼을 쓰다 보니까 뭐 볼이 갈 때 같이 모이라 앞으로 가다가 뒤로도 갈 수 있고 뭐 약간 좀 유동적으로 할 수 있다 생각해서 기용을 했던 것 같습니다. 근데 대회 때는 좀 잘 안 돼가지고 좀 아쉽긴 합니다.
All right, so during scrims, when we're going up against a rush composition, there were certain maps or certain parts of map that Baptiste wasn't really viable. It was really hard to survive with the Baptiste. So that's when we sort of thought of the Moira. And, along with Moira, and because we were using the ball composition, you have a lot of mobility. You can move in with the ball as a Moira, and you could also back out as well. So I thought it was a really good and very smart composition that we came up with, but it is sort of unfortunate that it didn't work quite well against the Dallas Fuel today. All right, last question for you, Violet. I think I do have to talk about this. San Francisco Shock is I think they're one of the top teams that we have in the West right now. You guys have been doing very well in the qualifiers for the kickoff prior to Kickoff Clash. But unfortunately in the Kickoff Clash tournament, things really didn't go well for you guys. Was there a takeaway lesson for the San Francisco Shock after the Kickoff Clash tournament? 자, 마지막 질문입니다. 이제 센쇼는 당연히 좀 강팀 중에 하나이고 항상 잘해왔지만은 아쉽게도 이번에 킥오프 클래시 토너먼트에서 좀 아쉬운 모습을 좀 많이 보여줬던 것 같아요. 네. 바이러 선수가 보시기에 좀 킥오프 클래시 토너먼트를 통해서 좀 배운 점이 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
킥오프 클래시 이번 플레이오프 때 오프라인 경기로 하게 되었는데 아무래도 오랜만에 하다 보니까 좀 그거에 대해 적응을 좀 못했던 그런 게 있어서 다음 오프라인 경기 때는 이번 경험을 토대로 좀 더 집중된 모습을 보여줄 수 있지 않을까 싶어서 네 그렇습니다.
네, 알겠습니다. Alright, I mean the Kickoff Clash tournament. It was Kickoff Clash tournament. It was a LAN event that we haven't. It's been a while. It's been some time that we played an offline event, and because of that, we weren't really used to the offline environment. So I think the takeaway lesson that for the San Francisco Shock was that going into the next LAN event, I think because now we have the experience, I think we will definitely be able to put out a better performance for our fans and everyone else. All right, Violet, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time, and again, congratulations on the win today against the Dallas Fuel. 자, 이거로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 오늘 승리 너무나도 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 땡큐.
바이바이.
Thank you so much, Violet. Congratulations to the San Francisco Shocks and everyone who had their back in their pick'ems. I was one of them. And I was solely based on their Kickoff Clash experience. So I gotta say, right, sure, LAN cheating. Let's go with that excuse. Why shouldn't we? No, all jokes aside, I mean, they're clearly back to their dominant selves. That was a very solid 3-0, and they showed that they have clearly a good grasp of what they want to play in this current meta. Whereas I felt like the Dallas Fuel, very much like you predicted, Danny. They came into this and were trying things out and then didn't really feel committed to anything they played per se here in Force.
Yeah, I think for Dallas Fuel, it's especially rough because they relied so heavily on the Zarya composition last stage, right? So a bit of an adjustment phase here now for the Dallas Fuel, and I think will allow them that. We best to keep in mind, of course, that they got 3-0'd by the Houston Outlaws in the very first match of the season. And where did they place in the tournament? Well, they got second place. So they're allowed to be 3-0'd at the first match of each stage, right, if you are the Dallas Fuel. But going back to the compositional thing, you can't play the Zarya anymore with the support changes and even the tank changes, of course. So it forces the Dallas Fuel to adapt. Fearless here playing the Doomfist for a little bit for this team. Gurio was more consistent in the lineup, not only playing the Widowmaker, but also stuff like Tracer, like Sombra, for example. So I think it's quite obvious, and Costa mentioned it on the cast a couple times, that this is the Dallas Fuel team that is sort of trying to figure out who they are here in the Midseason Madness qualifiers. And it's probably going to take them some time, right? But meanwhile, the San Francisco Shock, Danny, they looked extremely on point.
I'm liking it. Also,
liking it?
I'm liking it a lot. And I just want to say, every time I see Proper, I'm just amazed each and every time this guy plays. Like, he's so good on the Tracer, he's so good on the Soldier, he's so good on the Genji, and we haven't seen him on Sojourn, but we saw today he's really good. I'm now curious to see if there's any DPS hero that Proper can't play. Like, that's gonna be a little side game for me. Like, a little game for me. Is there...
he does seem to be a jack of all trades and also a master of all of those. Yeah. So good for him. I have to say though, if we're looking at the position, I was actually very impressed with Gurio's performance. I'm glad we got to see a little more out of him, not just a Widowmaker. I think he had a good showing on other heroes now as well, and that bodes well, I guess, for the team heading into the rest of this very qualifier.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting conversation to have about the Dallas Fuel, because if they were any other team, we'd be like, well, Gurio put up some good numbers, had a good impact in this game as well, and really stepped up from his Kickoff Clash performances. But it's the Dallas Fuel. Are we supposed to expect like excellency from this team at all times? Do we, after this 0-3 loss, do we go like, well, maybe they shouldn't be able to, or maybe they shouldn't play Gurio. Maybe you should, rely on players like Sparkle, Edison, Doha that are established, and we know they can play at an elite level against some of the best teams in the world, but we haven't truly seen that from Gurio yet. So I think against any other team in the league, we would be very impressed with Gurio's performance here in this match. But this is the Dallas Fuel. You gotta play at a very high level. So Gurio will have to prove to us consistently that he is not the problem. I don't want to say he was the problem today by any means.
Kind of sounds like you're saying.
Careful.
No.
I'm not saying Gurio is the problem.
No, I know where you're coming from.
He has to live up to a high level.
Exactly, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Gurio, obviously, and I do love that the team keeps him in, just because
he's so talented.
Exactly, he is so talented, and they know that if they give him the time of the day, and if he gets those reps in, he will excel. He will get better, and that's 100%. What you need, right? You can't just pop someone in and then pop someone out and have that constant change, because you never really give them an opportunity to get better. So it's good that we get to see so much of Gurio. I'm clearly he is improving and the team is meshing. But as you said, Danny, you're starting on a little flame here at the Dallas Fuel, and they'll progress accordingly.
We've seen that happen in stage 1 as well. After they lost to Houston Outlaws, what happened? And then they were like, okay, time to go to business. All right, let's just win this, win that, win this. Okay, and then we'll end up second.
It's very easy. It's simple math. Now our next match, that was a tough one to predict. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe Custer's hatred and loathing for the Washington Justice influenced me. I don't know. Maybe this is entirely on him. Neither Washington nor NYXL have been. How should I say that? Consistent?
Good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gee, that came from you.
Wow, Johnny.
I said consistent. He said good. Jonathan, have you been impressed with either of those two teams?
I think there are two teams in flux. They are learning, improving as they go. The Overwatch League is a journey. It's a long series of events, and you have to consistently improve on your performances. And Washington Justice, they oscillate a bit more, whereas New York Excelsior, they're kind of steadily. We'd like to see this upward trajectory kick in here now. And one thing that I didn't really anticipate, I suppose, when I predicted this matchup, is that Kellan is actually a really good Wrecking Ball as well. So if they wanted to play something like the Shock just did with Mikey on the Wrecking Ball, then New York Excelsior, they could certainly do so. They have two flex supports, of course, Gangnam Jin and Myeonbong. So maybe the Baptiste-Sen composition favors them as well. I know I predicted the Washington Justice, but I'm kind of second-guessing myself here now, Zoe, and I'm worried because New York could be good here.
It could be good. They could be good. Well, you know what? I really want to get the thought of no other than Mr. Custard himself. He's joined by the Fish. So let's hear what he has to say about this matchup.
The Fish?
The Fish and Custard. Custard Fish.
Scott? Words? Like what? Loathing? Seething hatred for justice?
Loathing? Well, okay. I think this is being blown out of proportion. Yes, I've been disappointed by Justice 1 time, 2 time, 3 times. I've lost count at this point. Okay. And yes, I do not predict them for that reason, but they have had some good performances. They made it to the kickoff clash. The question is always, when you go into a new tournament cycle, is, are the Washington Justice going to be good for this cycle? Well, I don't know. And that's why I went with the New York Excelsior, because I agree with Johnny. I think that the New York Excelsior could be good in this given match.
They have been disappointing, though. They're 1-5 currently in the season record. Yeah. Not great. And man, okay, it's frustrating, okay? I look at New York Excelsior, I'm like, man, that team is cool. They have sick branding. I'm like, damn, New York is so cool. It's like the cool kid in your class or whatever. You're like, God, why can't I be that cool?
You're always
exactly.
You're like, oh man, I want to be that guy. Yeah,
it's like, man, their clothes are so cool. You know what I mean? Their hairstyle's so cool. And I'm like, your players are sick. Yaki, Flora, Cullen, Myeonbong, Gamnan Jin, a lot of these players who have been around for a fair while at this point, Flora has been stepping up, in previous seasons at least. Yaki has been very good when he was on Mayhem. They did have that massive, down swing. But Yaki as an individual player, what? How are you 1-5 right now, New York Excelsior? How? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But maybe Johnny's right. We are transitioning into this new kind of meta, and Kellen is a pretty good ball player. We've seen it from him in the past. So this could be their time where they break away from that 1-5.
Absolutely. And if they want to go the route of what the Florida Mayhem did, if you look back to the first match of the series, they played the Wrecking Ball, double flex support in the backline, and then a Tracer Sojin. That's literally almost everyone on their favorite heroes for the New York Excelsior. My biggest complaint for them is that they don't have flexibility. But you don't need flexibility if you can just play the heroes that you want to and that you like anyway. So I'm looking at NYXL. I want to see this Excelsior team improve from last. They have to from the 1 and 5. Otherwise, we're going to start worrying about the direction of this roster. Because they just dropped Vulcan, they don't have any subs left in the back.
See, Yaki's even got the top knot going on. You see what I mean about Incool?
Yeah, he's so handsome.
I can't pull it off. I've always wanted to, but there's just no way it's not going to happen. Okay, we need to. Okay, let's move on. Justice. Otherwise, you're just going to go down to a rabbit hole and we're just going to be here forever in the pregame. Let's talk about the Justice, though. They're currently 3-3 in the season overall. Again, another roster that's been, literally middle of the pack right now. My favorite thing about this roster, though, is Kalios and his journey from the Boston Uprising in the very beginning of the Overwatch League in the inaugural season, straight back down to Open Division, then Trials, then Contenders, then straight back in the league again. It's like one of my favorite come-up stories of the Overwatch League. He's starting in the tank role. We have Krillin, of course, no longer rocking the mullet, unfortunately. Opener, Decay, and Assassin. And I think you're right in saying, Scott, which Justice are going to show up. We're in a new tournament cycle now, so will, the quote-unquote playoff Justice end up stepping up to the plate now?
Okay, my first question when I see this roster is, where's Happy? Where, what feels like in a hit scan meta, range shooting meta, I want to see Happy in the lineup. I'm happy to see DK back. He's someone who went missing in the Kickoff Clash playoffs. He tends to do that from time to time, but he's back. We'll see what form he is in. But we move over to Ilios, and I'm curious to see what the Washington Justice have cooking up, because I don't really understand the direction they're going to go with the players they have in right now.
You know what's a really silly reference that I just kind of thought of in my head? When Decay does go kind of missing, and this is so I'm thinking maybe he's the bus driver. I know we joked before, the bus driver back in the day, the Mayhem, right? But you're on the bus, everybody gets on the bus, right? The Washington bus, and then Decay's driving, and he's popping off throughout the entire season, or the run up to the tournament, and then he says, okay, arrived at the tournament, ding ding, doors open, everybody just everybody off, and then Decay drives off, you know what I mean? But we just need Decay to more consistently play in these playoff situations. We know he's a super clutch player, but maybe this is the meta where they, again, just force themselves into a playoff situation, get that playoffs Decay going, and end up clapping. Because what me and you talked about in the break, Scott, was this meta, I think, is extremely good for DPS players that like to play a little bit more solo. And I think Decay is the perfect example of that. His Tracer just being on his own in the back line of another team, just getting an orb every now and then, a pack every now and then to keep him sustained, but he can just sit and do what he wants.
All right, so we see these teams come out now, and we actually have a different Assassin on the Widow. Is a thonker for me, but let's see how he's going to be able to pull this one off, while Flora is going to stick to that Hanzo. Both playing the Sigma, but New York Excelsior leaning towards the Brigitte instead of the Baptiste from Opener.
Okay. Oh, Kalios got rocked there. Nice use of the lamp to keep him alive. However, it does die. They're going to be down that, and it's going to be hard for them to push on the point. It's being contested, however, with Kellen, Gangnam Jim, and Singh in the back line just doing what Myeonbong does best. Yeah, Krillin ends up going down. It is a bit of a thinker having an Assassin on the Widowmaker, Scott, but you almost have to play on this map, or at least most of the time, I feel. So, maybe they were hoping they go to the other points of Ilios, not necessarily this one.
It has to be, right? Because Assassin is, out of your 3 DPS players, the 3rd string Widowmaker. So it's weird to have him in this situation. We're going to see something else, but that doesn't matter. He's in for this map. He needs to be on the Widowmaker. We need to see him find some value. He has not found any just yet.
He's halfway to ult, but, it's just a couple of body shots. That was a timing issue. Ooh, dear. That could have been disastrous for Myeonbong. He doesn't know how lucky he is. Yaki with the pulse bomb. Excelsior doing a fair good job, though, of just sticking themselves on the point, just pushing Kalios off time and time again. So many cooldowns have been burnt already. The lamp from Opener is going to be key to keeping Kalios alive on the point. Decay's got a pulse bomb in hand. This could be the opening that they are looking for. Lamp has been used from Opener. Flora takes it out, and there you go. Gangnam Jin, Kellen, dead already. Decay now needs to clean on up. He shouldn't need to use the pulse. Should be fairly easy from here, and they get the flip.
Haven't been able to get Flora out.
Okay. Flora finds 2.
Flora's opening this up a lot.
Dragons. Okay. Now he just needs to look. one on white. Assassin? I don't know about the 1v1 in the small corridor against the Hanzo. Don't know about that one, Sunny Jin. Nice little headshot onto Kalios. This looks like an easy cleanup. Flora staying alive throughout that whole fight, Scott. That was disaster for the Justice. Oh, here you go.
Oh,
Here's
my. Flora has been a player that we saw great things from in the MYXL rebuild, and that's why he was the only player retained from that era. And he hasn't really had that level of impact that we saw from him, but he has been opening it up. But Krillin says otherwise, gets the first pick onto Flora.
Big opening pick. Nice little right click, or maybe a couple of just normal orbs to the dome. Yak in a little bit of trouble. However, that rally is going to serve Excelsior quite well. Decay still looking for this pulse target. That over health built up rather quickly. In fact, a lot being burnt from Excelsior. They burn the Transcendence to try and get rid of a lot of that damage that Kalios output with the Flux. Yaki's pulse bomb gets eaten up by that ultimate other stick. Nice stick from Decay. Gets slammed down to the ground and going so low. Kellen controlling this high ground to an absolute T right now, and Excelsior get pushed off the point. 99% now to 20 on the Justice. But it's Decay and Yaki. They're the ones that are picking up the kills. Excelsior might just find the flip. The Justice have to get back in time now. Someone's got a touch.
Assassin off of the Widow onto the Sombra to try and get in. Kalios over to the Doomfist. Decay does get the touch but force the recall. If he can stay alive, this
Assassin
could be
in, then quickly out. Kalios has come back on the Doomfist. Nice little rock, actually. And Immortality field forced already. Flora's free-firing from the back line. Someone's got to stop him from doing these things. Like, you've got to stop him getting off the high ground. Just stop him from getting these angles. A nice little shot onto Kalios, ends his life, and there you go. You know, New York Excelsior claim round 1.
I like the look of this Flora Hanzo. Something that I wasn't expecting as much Hanzo with all the changes, expecting more Sojin, but he's making me a fan of it. If you can get that consistent damage output, it's hard to play against. So now we get to see what's been cooking up for the Washington Justice, because Assassin on the Widow didn't perform as we kind of expected. Why is he here on this map? Looking like the Echo, I doubt to see the Pharah.
Doesn't feel like a decent pick, but the Echo's been doing fairly well, Scott. Again, another hero that can play just these off angles if you so choose. Could be pretty tough to deal with if you don't have a dedicated hit scan. Speaking of which, though, Flora's going to be running out on the Ash.
Interesting. New York Excelsior playing the APAC comp is what I would call this. They've been playing this a lot on Ilios, and the way this composition works is that you have the Zenyatta, the Mercy, the Ashe, and the Echo, and that's just a ridiculous amount of damage that makes it impossible for anyone to get in. But somehow Krillin opens this up again on the Zenyatta from across the map.
How does that even happen? Okay, well, it's Flora that's supposed to have the advantage in that situation. Oh, Assassin trying to go for a little dive bomb onto Yaki. Nice beam damage. Ganojin's in a lot of trouble too. Double kill for Assassin. That's an achievement right there. Washington Justice end up finding the cap. Good opening pick from Krillin, and Assassin did the rest.
That's why Assassin's here, doing what he needs to do. Instant switch from the Excelsior after that doesn't work. Flora and Gangnam Jin switch over. Here's the right click.
Ooh. Nice. Double headshot with a spare orb to follow that up.
Love to see that.
Oh, yeah. Zen players empowered. Feels good. That's what I want to see, honestly, Scott. Just more Zen play. So then I can justify to myself why I play Zen. It's great stuff.
Are you trying to admit to everyone that you're a Zen?
No, couldn't be me. I play Ana too. Two-trick, maybe. Two-trick.
Oh, two-trick, okay. But we do see Kellen on the Wrecking Ball, which Johnny highlighted in the break, that it is one of his heroes he's known